My daughter defamed me on TikTok for not selling my $20K necklace for her college, but when she tried to poison my ex's baby, the truth left everyone speechless. I'm 45 years old. I work as a graphic designer from home. And I need to tell this story because what happened with my daughter Mia over the last few months basically destroyed the relationship I thought we had. I mean, it didn't destroy it completely, I guess, because now we're trying to rebuild everything. But God, I never thought we'd get to where we got. The thing is, I need to get this off my chest because there are still people who see me at the supermarket and look at me like I'm the worst mother in the world. And honestly, there were moments when I believed it myself. I should start at the beginning, I suppose. I married Patrick when I was 25. He was 27. And for a long time, I thought we had a solid marriage. You know, one of those you see in movies where the couple grows old together and everything is beautiful. We had Mia when I was 26. And that girl was literally the light of my life from day one. Patrick worked at a company owned by his father, Joseph, who basically owns half the town with his businesses, and I did freelance graphic design, so I could be home with Mia. Everything seemed perfect, you know what I mean? We had a nice house, enough money, an incredible daughter, but it turns out Patrick had been having an affair with his secretary for 5 years. 5 years. 5 years of lies, of coming home late, of business trips that I now know weren't just business. I found out about 2.5 years ago when Mia was 17, and basically my world fell apart. The divorce was horrible, as you can imagine. I'm not going to go into all the legal details and stuff because honestly it still gives me a headache to think about it, but what I can tell you is that Joseph, my ex-father-in-law, completely took my side. Like, he was furious with Patrick, told him he was an idiot and that he had destroyed a perfect family for a stupid affair. Joseph was always like a second father to me, even more present than my own father who died when I was 20, and when all this happened, he made it very clear that I was still part of his family, no matter what Patrick had done. That meant the world to me, honestly, because I thought I was going to lose not only my husband, but his entire family. Mia took the divorce relatively well at first, or so it seemed. She was 17, in her senior year of high school, and I think she was so focused on her studies and activities that she didn't fully process what was happening. She was always very smart, super dedicated to school, played piano beautifully, got excellent grades. I was so proud of her, and Patrick was too. Although the truth is, Patrick was never as present as he should have been. He was always working, or so he said, and now I know that many times he wasn't working but with his secretary, who is now his girlfriend and is pregnant, but that's getting ahead a bit. Things started to get complicated when Mia entered college. She had applied to several good schools, and they accepted her at a private university. That cost, I don't know, like $50,000 a year. She didn't get any full scholarships, just a partial one that covered maybe 30%, and that meant Patrick and I had to cover the rest. I had saved some, not much because freelance graphic design isn't exactly a gold mine, but I had enough to help. Patrick, on the other hand, had much more money, worked for his father and earned well, but suddenly he started saying he couldn't pay that much because his girlfriend was pregnant and he needed to save for the baby. I mean, seriously? Your 9-year-old daughter needs help with college, and you're thinking about the baby that hasn't even been born yet with the woman you destroyed your marriage for. But anyway, that was the situation. So it was May, right before her high school graduation, and Mia had her last piano recital. She had been taking lessons since she was 6 and was really talented, like one of those people who play and make you want to cry because it's so beautiful. The recital was on a Tuesday at 7 at night, and I had it marked on my calendar in red, with alarms, with everything. But it turns out that day I had a work emergency. An important client needed a design for the next day, and I couldn't say no because I needed the money, especially with college expenses approaching. I called Mia around 5 in the afternoon, totally devastated, and explained the situation. She said it was okay, that she understood, but I could hear in her voice that it wasn't okay. I told her I would make it up to her, that we'd go to dinner at her favorite restaurant, whatever. Patrick didn't go to the recital either because he had a business meeting or something. Basically, we both stood her up at the most important moment. After the recital, Mia called me crying. She was furious, saying, I always chose work over her, that I was never there when she needed me. And here's what hurt the most. She only blamed me. She didn't mention Patrick at all, as if he hadn't been absent too. I tried to explain that it had been an emergency, that it wasn't that I didn't want to be there, but she didn't want to listen. She hung up the phone and didn't talk to me for 3 days. And when we finally talked, things were still tense. But I thought with time, she'd get over it. It didn't occur to me that this was going to escalate the way it escalated. A few weeks later, Mia came over because she needed help organizing her things to move to the college dorms in August. We were in my room, packing clothes and that kind of stuff, when she saw the sapphire necklace my grandmother had left me. It was a beautiful piece, antique, with a deep blue sapphire surrounded by small diamonds. My grandmother had given it to me before she died, like my most valuable family heirloom, and I kept it in a special box in my closet. Mia grabbed it and said, "Wow, Mom, this must be worth a lot, right?" And I told her yes, that it was probably worth like $20,000 or something, maybe more. And then she, without any shame, tells me, "You should sell it for my college." I froze. I literally couldn't believe what I was hearing. I told her, "Mia, this necklace is from your great-grandmother. It's a family heirloom. I can't just sell it." And she started with how if I really loved her, if I really cared about her future, I would sell the necklace. That it was just a piece of jewelry, that her education was more important. I tried to explain that I had already set aside money to help her, that her father was also going to contribute, that she could take out student loans like millions of people do. But she didn't want to hear any of that. She went crazy, screaming that I was selfish, that I cared more about an old necklace than her future. I started yelling at her too, which I almost never do, but she had me so frustrated. I told her she was being a spoiled brat, that she had no right to demand I sell something that meant so much to me. The fight escalated, and in the end Mia told me, "You know what, Mom? I'm going to live with Dad." She packed her things that same night and left. I was devastated, crying on my bedroom floor like an idiot, wondering how we had gotten to that point. Patrick came to pick her up with his new truck, a gray Ford F-150 that probably cost like $60,000, and he didn't even bother to come into the house. He just honked, and Mia ran out with her suitcases. We didn't talk for 2 weeks after that. June passed, July came, and I had barely seen Mia. She was living with Patrick and his girlfriend, and according to what I heard from Joseph, the three of them were getting along great. Patrick's girlfriend, I'm not going to use her name because honestly it makes me sick to even say it, was apparently being super nice to Mia, taking her shopping, cooking for her, that kind of thing. And look at me, being the horrible mom who didn't want to sell her family heirlooms. What hurt the most is that we had created this narrative in her head, where I was the villain, and her father and his future stepmother were the heroes, when the reality was that Patrick had destroyed our family for an affair. Then graduation came. Mia graduated in August because she had taken summer classes to finish quickly, and I was so excited to see her receive her diploma. I had bought a new dress, had a gift prepared, everything. But a week before the ceremony, Mia called me and told me, in the most casual tone in the world, that I wasn't invited to the graduation, that she only had a limited number of tickets and had given them to her father, his girlfriend, and some friends, but that I could go to the after party if I wanted. Can you believe it? My only daughter, the girl I raised practically alone because her father was busy cheating on me, didn't invite me to her high school graduation. I called Joseph immediately, crying, and he was just as furious as I was. He told me he was going to talk to Mia, that this was unacceptable. But I told him no, to leave things as they were, that I didn't want to cause more drama. The truth is, I was so tired of fighting. You know what I mean? I just wanted things to go back to normal between Mia and me, although at that moment I had no idea how much worse things were going to get. I went to the party after graduation, which was at an event hall Patrick had rented. I arrived and Mia barely greeted me, like a quick hug, and then she went to talk to her friends. I stood there like an idiot, with my gift in hand, watching everyone congratulate her. Patrick was there with his girlfriend, her with her pregnant belly and everything, and the way Mia interacted with them broke my heart. It was like they were the perfect family and I was just an awkward guest. But the worst part, was when it came time for speeches. Mia stood in front of everyone with the microphone and started thanking people. She thanked her friends, her teachers, her father for his financial support, and then, I swear I felt like I was dying, she thanked Patrick's girlfriend. She said something like, "And I especially want to thank girlfriend's name for being like a mother to me these last few months. for supporting me and being there when I needed it most. She didn't mention me once. Not once. As if I hadn't spent 19 years raising her, taking her to school, helping her with homework, staying up when she was sick, sacrificing my career to be home with her. None of that mattered. Joseph was sitting next to me, and I heard him mutter something under his breath. After Mia finished her speech and everyone applauded, Joseph got up and went straight to her. I didn't hear the entire conversation because there was a lot of noise, but I saw Mia's face change from happy to confused to angry in a matter of seconds. Joseph came back to the table, took my hand and said, "Let's go." We left that party without saying goodbye to anyone, and in the car, Joseph told me what had happened. It turns out Joseph had planned to give Mia a small company he owned, like a franchise or something that generated good passive income. It was his graduation gift, something that would give her financial security while she studied. But after hearing that speech where Mia basically erased me from her life, Joseph decided she didn't deserve it. He told me he had torn up the papers right there in front of her, that he had told her he was disappointed in the person she had become, that I had been a better mother to her than she was being as a daughter to me. Mia apparently started crying and tried to explain herself, but Joseph told her he didn't want to hear her excuses. In the car back to my house, Joseph told me something that stuck with me. He said, "Look, I know you're her mother and you love her unconditionally, but sometimes the greatest love you can give someone is to let them face the consequences of their actions. Mia needs to learn that she can't treat people like this, especially you who have sacrificed so much for her." And he advised me not to pay for her college, to let her take out student loans and get a job, to learn the value of money and effort. I wasn't sure, honestly, because part of me still wanted to fix things and be the good mom who pays for everything, but Joseph insisted this was necessary. That night, Mia called me around 11. She was furious. She yelled at me that Joseph had told her about the company he was going to give her, that I was manipulative for making him change his mind, that I was ruining her life. I tried to explain that I had nothing to do with Joseph's decision, that he had acted on his own, but she didn't believe me. She said horrible things to me, like she wished Patrick had never married me, that I was the worst mother in the world, that she never wanted to see me again. And then she did something I didn't think she would do. She blocked me. From Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, my phone number, everything. I was completely cut off from communicating with her. About 2 weeks passed and I was desperate to hear from Mia. I sent messages to Patrick, but he didn't even read them. Finally, Joseph called me and said we needed to talk. We went to a cafe near his office, and there he told me something that left me frozen. It turns out Mia had told Joseph that I had been invited to graduation, that she had sent me the formal invitation and everything, but that I had decided not to go. That I had chosen to stay home because I was angry with her about the necklace. Joseph asked me if that was true, and I told him, of course not, that Mia had never invited me, that in fact she had explicitly told me I couldn't go. Joseph was furious, but more than furious, he was sad. He told me that if Mia was capable of lying to him like that, about something so serious, then she had completely lost her way. We made a difficult decision that day. Both Joseph and I were going to cut contact with Mia until she decided to admit what she had done and apologize. It wasn't easy for me, because she's my daughter. But I also understood that continuing to allow that behavior wasn't good for anyone. August passed, September came, and Mia started college. I didn't know anything about how she was doing, if she needed anything, nothing. It was as if my daughter had disappeared. Patrick was apparently still paying part of her tuition. I don't know exactly how much, but he was helping. I kept my money saved, following Joseph's advice. Then, like mid-September, a friend of mine sent me a TikTok link. I don't even use TikTok. I'm too old for that. But I opened the link and almost had a heart attack. It was Mia, in a video that already had like 2 million views, telling her version of our whole story. And not just telling it, but absolutely lying about everything. She said I had kicked her out of the house when she asked for help with college, that I had chosen a necklace over her education, that I had missed her graduation on purpose to punish her, that I had forbidden her from seeing her grandfather Joseph. Everything was a lie. Everything. But people in the comments were tearing me apart. There were hundreds, thousands of comments calling me a monster, bad mother, narcissist, all those words people use on the internet when they don't know the whole story. It wasn't just one video. Mia had uploaded like 5 or 6 different videos, each telling a different part of the story, always painting me as the villain. In one of the videos, literally crying in front of the camera, she said I had abandoned her emotionally since the divorce, that I had never supported her, that Joseph only defended me because I had manipulated him. The amount of lies was overwhelming. Joseph saw the videos too and called his lawyer immediately. He told him this was defamation, that we could sue her. I wasn't sure I wanted to go that far. But Joseph insisted, this couldn't stay like this. He told me I had to defend myself, that I had to tell my version. So I did something I never thought I would do. I created a TikTok account and posted my own version of events. I showed screenshots of messages where Mia told me I wasn't invited to graduation, photos of all the school events I had attended over the years, receipts of all the expenses I had covered for her. Basically, I put out all the evidence I had to prove I wasn't the monster Mia was painting. My video also went viral, but the response was divided. Many people supported me, saying Mia was clearly lying and that I was a good mother. But there were also people saying I was being dramatic, that this should be resolved privately, that it was pathetic for a 4 or 5-year-old woman to be fighting with her 1 9-year-old daughter on social media. And they were right. It was pathetic. But what other option did I have? Mia had destroyed my reputation publicly, and I needed to defend myself. Joseph's lawyer sent a formal letter to Mia demanding she delete the videos and publicly retract, threatening a defamation lawsuit if she didn't. The letter reached her around late September, and Mia completely ignored it. The videos stayed up, kept going viral, and people kept tearing me apart in the comments. Then, like 2 weeks later, I got a call from Patrick. It was like 1 in the morning, which was already weird because Patrick never called me, much less at that hour. I answered, and the first thing I heard was Mia screaming in the background, and Patrick's girlfriend screaming too. Patrick sounded completely upset and told me, "Your daughter is a damn psychopath. If you want to see her, come get her now, because I don't want her in my house." I drove to Patrick's house without even changing out of my pajamas. When I arrived, there was an ambulance outside and my heart almost stopped. I ran inside and saw Patrick's girlfriend sitting on the couch, crying, with paramedics checking her. She was fine, apparently, but was obviously very upset. Patrick was standing in the middle of the room, red with rage, and Mia was on the stairs, also crying. I asked what the hell had happened, and Patrick told me that Mia and his girlfriend had gotten into a fight, and that Mia had pushed her. She pushed her knowing she was pregnant at like 7 months. Mia started screaming that it hadn't been like that the girlfriend had provoked her, that she had only defended herself. But Patrick didn't want to hear anything. He told her to pack her things and leave, that he wasn't going to allow her to endanger his unborn baby. The girlfriend kept crying, saying her stomach hurt, that she was afraid something had happened to the baby. The paramedics checked her, and in the end said both she and the baby were fine, that there were no signs of trauma, but that she should go to the hospital to be sure anyway. I tried to talk to Mia, ask her what had really happened, but she didn't want to talk to me. She just kept screaming that everyone was against her, that nobody understood her, that her life was a disaster because of us. Patrick went upstairs with her to her room, helped her pack her things, and basically threw her out of the house. He told me that if I didn't take her, he was going to call the police. I had no choice. I put Mia's suitcases in my car and told her to get in. She did. But she didn't say a word to me the whole way home. When we got to my house, around 3 in the morning, Mia went straight to her old room and locked the door. I stayed up all night, sitting in the living room, trying to process everything that had happened. My daughter had pushed a pregnant woman. No matter what had provoked her, that was unforgivable. And the worst part is, she didn't even seem remorseful, just angry that she'd been kicked out. The next day, early in the morning, Patrick called again. He sounded calmer but still very angry. He told me he had been thinking all night and had made a decision. He was going to disinherit Mia. That he wasn't going to allow someone capable of hurting his unborn child to be part of his life or have access to his money. He also told me his girlfriend wanted to press assault charges, but that he was trying to convince her not to, so Mia wouldn't have a criminal record. But that if I didn't do something to control her, he would have no other choice. Then he told me something that left me speechless. He asked us to drop the defamation lawsuit. He said if Joseph and I went ahead with that, he wasn't going to convince his girlfriend not to press charges. Basically, he was blackmailing us. And he added that he was going to cut all contact with Mia anyway, that for him she ceased to exist the moment she endangered his child. Those were his exact words. For me, she ceased to exist. I called Joseph and told him everything. He was also horrified by what Mia had done, but still wanted to continue with the lawsuit. I told him it wasn't worth it. That Mia was already facing enough consequences, that, if on top of that she ended up with criminal charges, her life would be completely ruined. Joseph finally agreed, but with one condition. Mia had to apologize publicly, on the same TikTok where she had defamed us, admitting she had lied and explaining the truth. I communicated this to Mia that same day. She was still locked in her room, not eating, not bathing. I knocked on the door and explained the situation. Either she made a public and honest apology, or she faced both the defamation lawsuit and potentially criminal charges for assault. I basically gave her no choice. She cried, screamed, said it wasn't fair, but in the end she agreed. 3 days later, Mia posted a video on TikTok. She was without makeup, looked terrible, and admitted she had lied about many things. She said, I had invited her to graduation, that I had been a good mother, that her previous videos had been the product of her anger and didn't reflect reality. She also announced she was cutting all contact with her father and his girlfriend because of what had happened, although she didn't explain exactly what had happened. The video had a very formal tone, very prepared, and people in the comments noticed. Some said we had obviously forced her to make that video, and they were right. But so what? At least the truth was out there. After that, Mia moved in with Joseph. I let her go because honestly I needed space from her too. Joseph kept me updated on how she was doing. Told me she was going to therapy, that she had gotten a part-time job near campus, that she had taken out a student loan to cover what she needed for college. Basically, she was learning to be independent, something she should have learned a long time ago. It's been like 2 months since all that, and the relationship between Mia and me is still complicated. We talk sometimes, short and somewhat awkward conversations, but at least we're talking. She has apologized to me several times, not just for the videos but for everything, for how she treated me after the divorce, for the necklace fight, for not inviting me to her graduation. She says therapy is helping her see things more clearly, to understand she was taking out all her anger about the divorce on the wrong person. I've forgiven her, I think. Or I'm in the process of forgiving her. I don't know. She's my daughter, and I love her. But I'm also tired. You know what I mean? Tired of fighting, tired of being the villain, tired of sacrificing myself only to be treated like garbage. Joseph says, I need to set healthy boundaries, and he's right. I can't be the mom who says yes to everything anymore, who endures everything just to keep the peace. Patrick, for his part, kept his word. He hasn't talked to Mia since that night, didn't even send her a message on her birthday last month. His baby was born like 3 weeks ago, a boy, and Mia doesn't even know his name. Part of me thinks Patrick is a coward for cutting off his daughter like that, but another part understands he's protecting his new family. I don't justify what Mia did, but I also don't think she deserves to be completely abandoned by her father. Although, well, Patrick had already abandoned both of us when he decided to have a 5-year affair, so I guess I shouldn't be surprised. Last week, Mia invited me for coffee near the university. We went to a small Starbucks that was full of students, and we sat at a table by the window. She looked different, thinner, more tired, but also more mature somehow. She told me about her classes, about her job at a campus bookstore, about how therapy is going. She asked me if someday we could go back to being like before, and I told her the truth, that I didn't know, that things had changed a lot, but that I was willing to try if she was too. I don't know what's going to happen with our relationship long term. There are days when I think we're going to be okay. That this was just a horrible phase, but we're going to get through it. And there are days when I think the damage is too great, that we'll never recover that connection we had. Joseph tells me to stop trying to predict the future and just take things day by day. And I guess he's right. What I do know is I'm never going to sell that sapphire necklace. Not because it's more important than my daughter, but because it represents something bigger. My right to have boundaries, to say no, to not sacrifice every part of myself just to please others. And I also know I'm not going to be the mother who endures everything in silence anymore. If Mia treats me badly again, I'm going to call her out on it. If she needs consequences to learn, she's going to have them. Because at the end of the day, the best mother I can be isn't the one who says yes to everything, but the one who teaches her daughter to be a good person, even if that means difficult decisions. Mia sent me a message last night saying she misses me, that our house feels like home to her, that she'd like to come visit. Me this weekend. I told her, yes, that she could come. We're going to make spaghetti, her favorite food, when she was a kid, and we're going to watch a movie. It's not going to be like before. We'll probably have awkward moments, but it's a start. And for now, that's enough.